Interesting thing. I was being evaluated to take a CEO role in one of the large organizations. I would not name it here, in the jewelry category, and they're big name. They're big houses, big business houses brand, and they asked me to create a business plan in 6 years' time with whatever investment required, make them number one. I did study, took 10, 15 days, come over the plan and said, this is what you can achieve. You can achieve 30,000 crore in 6 years with investment of approximately 1,900 crore, but you will still be the second. You will still be the second. Tanishq is going to be number one because that will be around 37, 38,000 crore at that time. It was in 2013, so 2020 projection was there. And coincidentally, Tanishq was close to that. But that brand was nowhere close to that. So decided not to join, decided to continue my entrepreneurial and consulting endeavor. But there are certain realities. If a category is already claimed by someone, replacing that brand is actually a hugely costly affair. And that too in a same positioning which they are carrying. So either you come up with some innovative positioning which consumer connects more than what they're connecting to a existing leader in that category, or you be happy with being a third, fourth, fifth, 10th brand in that category. That is also a right business strategy.
So this is what an Apple would have done with the Nokias or Samsungs of the world, or a BlackBerry would have done with the other brand that in the peak of its journey. Interesting. So we are talking about. So we have touched a bit about the brand story that you've done. You've worked with multiple such businesses, and then you're from steel to retail and jewelry, and now we are talking about food tech. In last podcast, I was talking to Rahul, who's a very good friend of mine, and at one point in time today, he's building 6 different businesses. All of those 6 businesses coming in from different sectors, and we had a detailed discussion about it. As in, what's the mindset that you have running a cars business and a food business? Completely different set of businesses. So I can clearly see that as an expert, somebody who has a decent bit of experience, you would end up saying that it doesn't make a difference. Actually, if you know your customer, you'll be able to run it. But still, what made you move from the retail and jewelry? I'm sure you are still working as a consultant for many, but building a business in a food tech is something which is unique, right? So, and that too building on your own, right? So what is it that actually took you to take that move from that business to this business?
So two aspects to it. One, yes, it's an interesting thing, and I think you earlier touched that probably lucky enough to get the right college and right job as a millennial, and then at the second inning of my life when I was 46, 47, deciding to enter into a startup world with a startup, and that too in a domain which I had never exposure to, the food domain, the healthy food domain, and the farming and agriculture, agri tech or agri mart as you say it. Getting into that, interesting. It started as a passion at the COVID time, sitting idle first time in my life for 3-4 months. Decided to get into farming. Took up some 40 odd acres of farms on lease and started farming, and I started liking that life. Then this came to a conclusion that this can be a passion. This cannot be a business. And passions without, unless you have your own oxygen mask, the business are commercially successful. It does not succeed for a long time. So then decided to pivot it to a market-focused company for the healthy food. What we have been doing in KSKT AgroMart and KaseLiving.com is we are building the one-stop destination for all the healthy food need of consumers of India. And by healthy food, I mean food which is free from harmful chemical. So anything which is not ordinary, better than ordinary is what we offer to consumer. So that is an interesting exercise. But yes, you're right that that the process remains same. Though the process remains same, but the formulas change. The process of identifying a business and then getting into business change, but the dynamics are changed because competitive pressures are different. Different kind of domain knowledge is required. Different kind of product knowledge is required. I would correlate it to a chef. I mean, as a chef, you are known to be a good chef, maybe at max for a cuisine, not for a dish. So, I mean, though generally good chefs are good in different cuisines also. So, as a business builder and as a growth guy, I am okay to work out a model, and I feel excited to work out a business growth model and business model right from scratch to a large business across any category. So that basic kick and basic drive and basic understanding is there. But yes, every recipe needs understanding of different ingredients. So if you're cooking Italian, you need to know Italian ingredients, the spices. If you're cooking a Mughlai, then you need to know that. So similarly, the domain knowledge is also important. But you get too bogged down only by the domain knowledge and don't understand what is the right process to do it, then there is a problem. So typically, if you will see that these are the guys who would be, I mean, I'm nowhere comparing to great visionaries like Elon Musk and all, but these are not segment specific. I mean, they will build something new. So maybe at a very micro level, people like me and the gentleman you mentioned are similar to that mental mindset that we love creating something and building some business. It is irrespective of the strategy and the knowledge of being a. If you enjoy you cooking, you will enjoy cooking a Mughlai dish also, and you will enjoy cooking a.
No, actually, the analogy of cooking makes a lot more sense, because if you get into detail, cooking is also not just an art. It is a majority of science and a bit of art to it, because one need to understand what oil does at what stage of the cooking, and every cuisine will be dependent upon that only, right? So that's a very interesting analogy.
That's one of my hobbies. It's one of the de-stressing exercise which I do, and whenever I have opportunity, once or twice a week, I cook. I cook something for myself, my family, my friends. Love doing that.
Nice. And you have another hobby of writing.
That's something developed in early childhood. I had forgotten that in my early professional life, but then again caught up with that. So, love writing गज़ल्स in Urdu and Hindi. मैं कुछ मुख्तलिफ मिजाज रखता हूँ. One of my favorite and early stage. मैं कुछ मुख्तलिफ मिजाज रखता हूँ. I keep a little different attitude in life. मैं कुछ मुख्तलिफ मिजाज रखता हूँ. कल के सपनों को आँखों में आज रखता हूँ. कल के सपनों को आँखों में आज रखता हूँ. मुझे विरासत में मिली है सिर्फ अना, सेल्फ एस्टीम. मुझे विरासत में मिली है सिर्फ अना, इसलिए सर पर गुरूर ताज रखता हूँ.
Very nice, very nice. So you're saying that whatever is being built is built by me because of certain thing that has happened, and hence I'm fine to be proud of it.
That's what I'm proud of. Not the legacy which I inherited, or the things which I created. So I mean, see, what you talk and what you do shapes up from your life experiences. Probably, if I would have been born in a family with maybe thousands crores of wealth, I would have thought differently. I would have did differently. I would have approached the life differently. So, born in a lower middle class family, difficult to make ends meet. We used to take decisions whether if this person is going for a tuition, this person cannot go. If brother is going, sister cannot go. If sister is going, brother cannot go. So that is the typical lower middle class family of a railway employee. This is where four of us were brought in. So you learn to manage with limited resources. That's also a great.
A lot of us can actually relate to it. Yeah.
I mean, most of us have come that way, so we would relate to that. And then the biggest thing which you learn there is not cribbing about what's not there. You learn to manage with the limited resources and make best out of that. That's also the business management. Business management is all about achieving more with the limited resources. If there is unlimited money, anybody can build a brand and anybody can do marketing, but that doesn't make a brand. Otherwise, all the startups in the world would be owned by the sons and daughters of the top 10, top 20 rich people in the world. And in India, probably all will be owned by the sons and daughters of Ambanis and Adanijis and Mahindrajis. But it's not. There are people coming from small towns building large businesses. There are a lot of cases. because it's not money. What money is a raw material for business.
Yeah, I guess with the advent of technology, the market is getting democratized. So
Absolutely.
obviously, the new minds would have an opportunity. Obviously, somebody having the money is always helpful. They would always have
So money is
edge.
also democratized with VC firms, with angel investors. If I come across a wonderful idea and a passionate person to implement that idea, I don't think me and you will think twice to give him 10, 20 lakhs at an early stage, which he needs in the exchange of a small percentage of equity and support for him. So he keeps proving and he keeps raising money. So we are very early stage, then the next stage, then the next stage, and then there are large VC firms sitting to fund the businesses. So that democratization has happened across segments. It's happened in finance and accounts. It happens in technology. It has happened in logistics. Now a small delivery companies created in a small town can actually grow and become one of the.
And there are multiple such examples now. Santoshji, while we are talking about agromart, food tech, rather setting up the food supply chain, fixing up the food supply chain, I see that you talk a lot about the quality of food that is being served to Indians, and there is a fact that says that India is amongst the highest pesticide consumer, even more than China and US, and this is ultimately resulting into not so good food being served, right? Um and you're also working on the same thought process while you're building KSKT and Kazi Living both, wherein you're talking about clean food for that matter, maybe in the form of pesticide free or an organic, but something which is, I see that is very close to your heart. So how do you see that as a problem for the India, and how do you look at it from the perspective of KSKT and Kazi Living when you are building it?
So KSKT, Kisan Se Kitchen Tak, actually the idea happened during the time of the pandemic. And it happened from my past experiences during my Tata Steel days while building Tata Tiscon's distribution network and Tata Viron later on. I used to do a lot of rural market visits. And I observed that our farmers are doing two separate patches of farming. One for the commercial purpose, which they sell in the mandis, where they use all kind of chemicals, starting from fertilizers to pesticides to weedicides to growth enhancers, everything, and a small separate patch which they use for to grow for their own families and friends, because they also know that the food which they are growing using so much of chemical is not good for health.
So they grow clean for food
Absolutely,
for
absolutely, because they
themselves,
know. But
but
unfortunately,
chemicals for
we
us.
can't blame them because the
Yeah.
commercial compulsions are there.
Yes.
Because the mandi does not value the intrinsic quality of the food. What it values is how it looks and what is the quantity you've got there,
Oh, yes.
and you get price for that. And there is an experience which we also came across that. So that was the thought.